Okay.
This is Mark Strassman, reporter with Etopia Media's Entertainment Technology World. We're about to speak to Bill Kula at Verizon. He's their Director of Media Relations and also a spokesperson for them. Welcome to Etopia Media's Entertainment Technology World.
Hello, Mark. Glad to be with you.
We're going to be talking about FiOS, but we need to define it and spell it out for people. First, this is capital F, lowercase I, large O, large S, FiOS. What does it stand for?
Well, FiOS is a unique name for Verizon. Many have attempted to say that it stands for fiber optic service, which indeed FiOS is a byproduct of an all fiber optic network. But FiOS, of and by itself, is a brand new word that was created, and it really represents our future going forward to be a even more significant player in the broadband market.
Okay, tell us generally how fiber optic transmission of data differs from more traditional legacy methods, including coax and twisted pair.
Well, there is a very significant difference. For an all-fiber optic network, what we are in effect doing is completely revolutionizing the way that we provide to our customers traditional voice and data and video services. In the old copper network that's served our nation well for decades, there is a limit in terms of the amount of bandwidth that can be provided over copper. With a fiber network, there are unlimited amounts of capacity that present an opportunity for us to give customers a whole new opportunity to maximize their telephone, their computer, and their TV at levels not seen before. So we literally are taking hair-thin, and I do mean hair-thin strands of fiber that are connected literally to the customer's home, and with that hair-thin strand of fiber, we're able to provide a very clear, crisp voice signal, high-speed internet connectivity up to, at least that we're marketing at 30 megabits per second downstream and 5 megabits per second upstream. We have tested in the field all the way up to 100 megabits per second. And so if that won't make your windows rattle, we're not quite sure what it will. And then we're also now in the very earliest stages of offering an alternative form of TV service where we compete with the incumbent cable providers and the satellite providers. So very specifically, what we're doing is laying fiber underground or above ground placed inside our conduit, and we extend that fiber out to a network neighborhood hub that we call a fiber distribution hub, that in turn connects to a fiber splice box, which is located very near the customer's home, generally either in front of their home or in the alleyway. And then when the fiber is placed in the community, Verizon technicians will come into the neighborhood, splice the fiber, and then it prepares us for offering FiOS services to the customer. When the customer actually orders FiOS, a different group of technicians comes to the home and extends the fiber feed from the fiber splice box all the way to the customer's home, and we place on the side of the customer's home what we call an optical network terminal, or an ONT, which is the size of a personal pan pizza box. And that box serves as the catcher's mitt, if you will. It is the receiving device that receives the pulses of light that we shoot out from our central offices or switching and transmission centers. Each of these boxes that we install on the side of the customer's home has 4 voice ports, 1 high-capacity data port, and then a feed for the television connection. We can install all of these at the same time, or we can install just the data and the voice piece by itself and come back later on if the customer decides to order TV. The only other piece we install at the customer's home is a backup battery device and a power supply, because with the fiber to the premises, or FTTP network that we're constructing, it does not have any electrical components between the Verizon central office and the customer's home. So it's what's known as a passive optical network. So from the central office, we shoot out pulses of light. It carries over our fiber optic network all the way to the customer's home. It's received at the optical network terminal, and then if it's a data connection, it carries over a high-capacity data line, or a Cat5 wire, that we connect to a wired or a wireless router for the customer inside their home, that's then connected to their computer or computers of choice. And for the television connection, we can either take advantage of the existing coax device that's at the customer's home, or we extend the fiber feed from outside of the home to the customer's television, and then we install a set-top box, which is a box that would look similar to what customers have today for a cable TV service. And that is a customized box that Verizon uses that allows for our customers who can get our FiOS TV service to receive the same exact programming in all of our markets across the country. It is the newest piece of FiOS that we're offering, and the reaction from consumers for both the data and the TV service has been quite overwhelming, and it represents very much our future going forward in fiber.
Does it also, you talked about the data connection and the video connection, there's obviously going to be a phone connection as well there, right?
That's correct. Well, the customers who we presently serve already have on the side of their homes what's known as a network interface device, or a NID. It's a small plastic box that most people typically only encounter when they're mowing their yard or doing landscaping along the side of their home. We do take advantage of the telephone connection that already exists at the customer's home, and we connect a piece of that network interface device to the new fiber optic box that's on the side of the home. So there is no new wiring per se,
right,
that needs to take place, other than the high-capacity data line that goes into the customer's home to a router, and the fiber feed that goes to the customer's television.
Okay, I want to talk about one or two short general points. The fiber optic technology is already in wide use in trunk lines, isn't it, to send signals from north to Southern California and at deeper levels in the network. Fiber optic has been around for a while, transmitting vast amounts of information that are collected from feeder networks. Isn't that right?
That is exactly right. For decades, what's known as inter-office fiber has been used to transport voice and data signals across the country. Long-distance companies have placed their long-distance calls over fiber optic networks for years. The difference here is that it is still fiber optics that's being used, but in this particular case, Verizon's extending the fiber connections literally to the customer's home. This is very much unlike what other telephone companies like AT&T, the creation of the merger of SBC and AT&T intend to do with a hybrid fiber and copper network. And this is very different than the traditional cable television networks that permeate the country today. This is a 100% fiber optic network that provides greater resiliency to foul weather. It is impervious to bad wind conditions or torrential rains that can often have an impact on the situation of a satellite dish and or the times when water can creep into a network that has copper in it. Water and copper do not mix. So this creates an opportunity for us at a time when fiber has become more cost affordable for us to create, in effect, what's known as an overlay network, where we are placing a fiber optic network atop our existing copper phone network. Over time, as there's a built-up penetration of users on our fiber optic network in a particular community, we will, in effect, retire the copper phone network and only operate the fiber optic network, which gives us a number of advantages, most paramount of which is the ability to remotely and quickly and cost-effectively diagnose problems even before a customer sees it, and we can reroute traffic. Needless to say, any type of communications equipment that is buried underground can always be subject to an errant backhoe or somebody inadvertently digging where they should not. So if fiber is ever inadvertently cut, it would need to be spliced to be restored. But with an all-fiber optic network, the overall network infrastructure is far more resilient and far more robust, and certainly presents a significant sea change in the amount of capacity that we're able to deliver. So it's still fiber, but it's a different delivery than the interoffice fiber lines that crisscross the country and have delivered long-distance transport services for years.
Very reliably, we might add.
That's right.
Just a little bit on terminology. You referred to FTTP. This is fiber to the premises. Is this the same thing as FTTH, fiber to the home?
They are, in effect, one and the same. The significance here is that when we use the phrase premises, it refers to the fact that not only are we delivering an all-fiber optic network to residential homes, but we also are delivering fiber optic services to small businesses, so that small businesses can enjoy and appreciate the same capacity benefits that larger businesses have for years taken advantage of. So fiber to the premises, or FTTP, is akin to fiber to the home, but it is very much different than fiber to the node or fiber to the curb, which is only taking advantage of fiber to a certain degree. It doesn't carry out the job in taking fiber literally all the way to the customer's residence or place of small business.
And because a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, by having an all-fiber network, you have the capacities that we've talked about all the way to the business premise or the home premise.
That's right. Now, creating a fiber to the premises network does not come without cost. It is a significant capital investment, one that is it's a multi-billion-dollar effort. In many markets, we're investing hundreds of millions of dollars. It does require a very laborious, tedious build-out of the network to extend fiber all the way to the home. In contrast, some companies that are constructing a fiber to the curb network are able to reach more homes faster, but they're not able to provide as high capacity an array of services as we'll be able to with a fiber to the prem network.
Say just a little bit about why fiber can carry more information, have a broader transmission band than copper.
Well, there are some inherent differences in the overall infrastructure of fiber versus copper. At the core, the fiber optic network that takes advantage of pulses of light, it allows for us to distribute communication signals faster and farther than copper can. Whereas copper is a very reliable medium for the delivery of communications, it has inherent into itself some distance limitations. And so often the frustration that has been echoed across the country in the last 10 years that DSL has been available, beginning first with trials in 1996 and 97, and then the first commercial deployment of DSL in the fall of 1998, is that copper only allows for a certain number of customers to receive a high-speed connection. Most people typically need to live within a 3-mile radius of a central office that's provisioned for digital subscriber line, or DSL, in order to receive that service. So that means that not everyone in a particular community where DSL is provisioned is able to get a high-speed connection.
And how does that compare with the under fiber?
Well, with a fiber to the prem network, there are no distance limitations, and so we're able to provide fiber optic services to 100% of our existing local telephone customer base in the cities where we build out our fiber optic network. So it is a monumental difference when we're able to definitively tell every one of our local phone customers who we serve today that they'll be able to, if they wish, to order our fiber optic services, as opposed to today we're only able to provide our digital subscriber line service to roughly 80% of our customer base. So that prevents us from serving a number of customers, even in densely populated areas, merely because of where they live in proximity to the central office that serves them. So in the markets where we're already building out our FTTP network, we are able to commit to serving all of our customers, which is a significant change that allows for us to provide more customers with higher speed service, clearer voice signals, and with an opportunity to receive their TV service and video on demand services from someone other than their traditional cable company or their satellite provider.
Have the changes that have led to this been technological, administrative, competition? Why is this happening now and it didn't happen 2 or 3 years ago?
I think the things you mentioned are all encompassing. Clearly, from a competition perspective, there is a significant need for us not only to retain but to grow our base. Over the last several years, for a number of regulatory reasons, as well as some changes in competition, the emergence and growth of voice-over IP providers, as well as the growth and use of instant messaging, text messaging, short text messages, as well as email, we've seen a decrease in the number of customers who use our local telephone line.
Right.
More and more people are doing what's known as cutting the cord. Certainly the Generation X and Y group of society are growing up in an era where it's pretty common to never touch a landline phone, but to exclusively use a cellular phone as a principal means of communication.
In the same way that people raised on computers say, "What's that thing that you're calling a typewriter?"
That's exactly right.
It's happening. Why do you have these wires coming out of your phone?
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, nirvana for people today is to have a wireless, high-speed broadband connection and to be able to have the ability to do the work you want, where you want it, and when you want to. And with our focus on fiber, this presents an opportunity for us to compete even more aggressively against the cable companies, chiefly, as well as the voice-over IP providers. Keep in mind, anyone who uses a voice-over IP connection still needs a broadband connection, meaning they need to either have a DSL or a cable modem connection. But as we've seen a deterioration in our local phone base, we are beginning to see a stepped-up increase in the number of our broadband customers as well as wireless customers. Fortunately, at Verizon, not only are we providing local telecommunications, but we have a the fastest growing wireless company in the country that right now is second in terms of subscribers only to Singular, that merged with AT&T, and well on track to again become the largest wireless provider in the country.
What kind of speeds for broadband, mobile or wireless broadband access is Verizon capable? Verizon Wireless capable of delivering at this point?
Verizon Wireless has a product that takes advantage of EVDO technology, which can provide customers on-the-go communications of in the range of 500 to 700 megabits per second.
Right.
With fiber to the premise, we're able to provide through our FiOS services anywhere from 5 all the way up to 30 megabits per second speed.
So that's 10 to 60 times faster.
That's exactly right. 10 to 60 times faster, and significantly faster than your typical DSL or cable speed.
And if we have to talk about sort of the sociology, the social psychology of viewing, this is going to make it a lot easier to put high-definition television on a wall in a way that creates a viewing experience that's far different than walking down the street looking at a 2.25 by 2.25 inch screen.
Well, that's exactly right. There are some people who are already purchasing our VCast service, which we offer through Verizon Wireless, which allows you to see videos and movie clips and news clips on your cellular screen. But the viewing experience that we're trying to create for the homeowner is one of incredible clarity. Just 3 days ago, I was at a customer's home and was discussing his personal viewing habits, and he showed to me, not just told me, his habits, and it was clear that this particular individual watched far more high-definition channels just out of the pure enjoyment of watching high definition, even if it wasn't
good quality content,
CSI or Desperate Housewives or 24. He wanted merely to see high-definition TV at its best. And having seen a number of sporting programs and other television shows over our FiOS network on a high-definition TV, you begin to rub your eyes and wonder if your vision is suddenly improved to 2010, because it's as if you can reach out and touch the rubbery numbers on the back of an NFL jersey when you're watching a game, or stroke the grass when you're watching a tennis tournament, because the images pop and on the screen in a way that we're not accustomed to. It's not wizardry or magic. It is merely the fruit of an all-fiber optic network that delivers a very crystal clear image, and needless to say, this will create a significant opportunity for the makers of high-definition TVs and the various providers of all the DLP and the high-definition and plasma TVs. That's not to say that your traditional 30-inch TV won't provide you a good quality service, because it will with FiOS TV, but we are starting to see that as individuals have an opportunity to get an even more crystal clear TV image, that it is spawning a growth in the purchase of not only larger but even thinner TVs that people are using in their game rooms or their central room where they watch most of their TV programs.
And now, this is not coincidentally, probably today is the a premiere of Steven Soderbergh's Bubble film, which is being released simultaneously, more or less, in theaters, on DVD, and on Mark Cuban's high-definition channel.
Right.
And this means that depending on how big your screen is and what your preferences are, you're going to be able to use FiOS to get that quality of picture that you might have previously needed to go to the theater to get in your home theater or living room.
Well, that's exactly right. In order
at the same time.
That's right. In order to showcase what FiOS TV will provide, we have in North Texas, which is where the roots of FiOS data and FiOS TV were born in terms of our first market launches. We have opened up to the public opportunities to watch movies on large screens over our FiOS TV network. And it created an opportunity for people young and old alike to watch sporting events and/or movies, and in other words, do a quick test run of and seeing if FiOS TV was something that they would enjoy. What that led to is literally a meteoric rise in sales for us with FiOS TV, and despite a number of efforts from the cable industry to maintain a stranglehold on their customer base through a variety of legal tactics and maneuvers and other efforts.
We're going to talk about that in some more detail in a minute.
Well, that's good. We've been able to grow our subscriber base quite significantly purely on the ability to show off what the service looks like, and once people see it, they believe it, and they buy it.
Before we do that, I wanted to raise one more question or two more things that you can do with this. I've done some interviews with people from NEC who make digital cinema systems that are used in theaters that save the studios the time, trouble, and expense of making lots of copies of the film and shipping them around the country. Is FiOS going to be useful for studios to send digital cinema content to theaters who will still have, in almost every case, screens bigger than anyone can afford or have room for at home?
That does present an opportunity for that industry to take advantage of it. It's not one that's yet viable yet. We'll continue to build out our fiber optic network, and in fact, we'll begin offering FiOS TV in our very first Southern California markets within the next 3 weeks, and then we'll continue to expand that into some other markets in Southern California that we believe will present an opportunity for people to better maximize that and take advantage of the very solution you were talking about.
Okay, and one other thing, you were making the point that with the broader pipe into the home, this spurs sales and use and taking advantage of upgrading the receiving devices and the display devices that are going to show the video. Will it work similarly with personal computers that will now become at their current level the weak link in the chain and facilitate the development both of or the more full leveraging of more powerful processors in the computers, not to mention linking the computers through this network into grids to generate enormous computing resources for scientific or other purposes?
Well, not only will the TV become a viewing receptacle, but we do believe, to your point, that the computer itself will also become a portal for people to view content. We will integrate increasingly over time the television and the computer together so that there is a true spirit of convergence in the sense of the word, of being able to allow for individuals to see cutting-edge content either on their television or on their computer, and then be able to blend the two together. So, for example, if someone were watching a movie or a sporting event, they'd be able to incorporate their data connection and take advantage of the two different frequencies on which the video and the data feed are coming in, which is another differentiator of an all-fiber optic network. If someone, in other words, were to purchase our 15 megabit per second data service, they would receive a 15 megabit throughput for their data and a completely separate 15 megabits of opportunity for their TV. So what that means is that in today's society, watching a high-definition channel generally takes anywhere from 12 to 14 meg. So one TV could be watching a high-definition channel. Another several TVs could be watching regular programming. Meantime, there could be 3 different computers in the home all tapping into a 15 megabit pipe. And so in effect, FiOS can fuel the family's productivity, both from a data and a video perspective, while people are also placing phone calls over that same fiber optic line.
Or engaging in mass multiplayer video games.
Well, the gaming industry is clearly one of the initial applications that we think will take off with the full fiber optic network. In fact, in some of our earliest markets, we've conducted gaming competitions as a means for some of the youth audience and some of those of us who are younger at heart and who compete in online gaming have been able to take advantage of the all fiber optic network, and then it's demonstrated how the FiOS network can help people to be even more competitive. And a lot of the strongest positive feedback that we've received about our fiber optic network has indeed come from those who are in the online gaming community.
And one last element before we get into the regulatory and administrative picture. You were also talking about upstream channels that are pretty capacious as well, so that if you combine the video display, the FiOS connection, and computers to be used to generate video content, edit it, and then send it to friends, or essentially put yourself on an even par in some way with large studios and television networks in the production side and distribution side of more video content.
Well, that's exactly right. You make a good point that with an all fiber optic network, in effect, we're allowing people to get more done with their life in a shorter period of time. And that means both in the delivery as well as in the receipt of communication. So it's not just providing a benefit for how fast someone can send out information off of their network over the internet to someone else, but how fast somebody can receive material as well. So it takes your DSL connection or your cable connection that you're comfortable with today, and significantly enhances the experience that you've been receiving to a degree that we've just not seen before in the country.
So, in fact, with enough server space, though, this can empower individual businesses or residences and the people in them to become themselves producers and distributors of their own video content through this network.
Well, every time we've seen in society that technology has been expanded and ratcheted up more, we've seen a greater amount of innovation, and it also reduces the risk factor and allows both content developers as well as application developers to take greater risk, to develop programming, and to create applications that are more bandwidth intensive, but it becomes doable and palatable because the end user has a far greater amount of capacity at their disposal. That type of risk-taking from the greatest creative minds in the country and in other countries doesn't happen until there's known evidence that the bandwidth can sustain the type of applications that are being produced. So as bandwidth capacity increases, we also anticipate and fully expect that we'll see greater risk-taking that becomes not that risky anymore. Frankly, it will keep in step with the growth in bandwidth. So
in fact, the same thing you were saying about how this network will create more in the way of viewing platforms that people will be able to use. In the same way, it's going to provide distribution platforms. So in the same way you're selling more flat-screen TVs and faster computers, you're going to be selling more video production equipment, from cameras to editing equipment, to generate more material to fill the network.
That's right, and that's all good.
Right. Okay. This sounds pretty exciting to me, but I'm sure there's going to be some complications involved in making this happen. Why don't you talk to us about what's going on in Texas in terms of the rollout so far, and in terms of the franchising arrangements that have been put together by Verizon, and the responses that this has elicited from the legacy distributors of video content?
Well, every good thing doesn't come without some challenges, right? And we certainly have seen that in terms of our effort to try to bring about video choice. Verizon has a multi-pronged strategy to secure what are known as video franchise agreements. These are required for us in order to become a new entrant or a new provider of video services. We already have franchise agreements that allow us to provide local telecommunications services. And in theory, we don't believe that additional franchises are required, but on the books, there are requirements from municipalities and states, and certainly at the federal level, that require us to, if we're going to offer video, to have these franchise agreements. We have a three-pronged attack where we're seeking to secure local franchises at the city level, and now at the state level, and certainly pushing to bring about some federal regulation that will further streamline the ability for us to enter the video market. For the very first time in the country, last September, the Public Utility Commission approved
of the state of Texas.
In Texas,
right.
The Public Utility Commission of Texas approved a number of video application requests, including Verizon's as well as AT&T's, and actually 10 other companies now. So there are 12 different companies who have requested state-issued video franchises, and it was all a byproduct of a piece of legislation that was signed into law by Texas Governor Perry last fall that streamlines the ability for companies to enter into the video business. So what's known as Texas Senate Bill 5 has become a model that we hope to see replicated in part in a number of other states, including California and Florida and Virginia and New Jersey, among several others, that would give us a chance to have more equal opportunity to compete against the existing cable providers. But it comes with a lot of scratching and fighting and kicking along the way.
Before we talk about that, what are the general provisions of this state-issued video franchising arrangement?
Under the state-issued video franchise in Texas, a new entrant must submit an application and spell out very specifically which markets it intends to provide video service. Then, within 17 business days, the Texas Public Utility Commission, which oversees the telecommunications market in the state, must provide a response to the provider in terms of granting them approval or providing some feedback that requires some change to the application. So rather than having to gumshoe it and go door to door, city to city, knocking on the doors of city attorneys or cable administrators or the mayor's office and securing time to hash out what generally takes from 6 to 18 months of video franchise, we're in one fell swoop able to submit an application to the PUC in the state of Texas, and we did, and we applied for offering video in 21 markets. So we're now able to dramatically increase the time that we're able to provide a number of our Texas customers the opportunity to enjoy an alternative TV service as opposed to having them to rely on a smaller number of options for their video service.
Okay, now this procedure streamlines the franchising process. As I understand it, traditional local or municipal franchises include provisions in terms of, in some cases, rate regulation, whether all or parts of communities will be served, as well as funding for things called iNets that provide services for the government to use, and PEG, or political, educational, and governmental programming.
Right.
What kind of how does that carry over, if it does, into these state-issued franchise agreements?
Well, the first thing,
as well as also requirements in terms of customer service.
The first thing, there are customer service metrics that we're required to adhere to and meet, and those are now governed by the Texas Public Utilities Commission,
right,
and not by the cities.
Right.
Despite rumors to the contrary, the cities still receive revenue from us. It's in most cases it is 5% of all the total revenue that is achieved from the FiOS TV service in a particular community.
Which is what it's been as a standard in municipal contracts.
That is correct. Plus, we're required under the state law to your point, provide cities with public education government channels or PEG channels within 120 days from the time we begin offering FiOS TV. Those PEG channels vary from city to city. The state law requires us to match, at minimum, the delivery of PEG channels so as to correspond to those that are offered by the incumbent cable provider. So
there's a floor. Whatever the incumbents are offering now, you have to offer as much.
That's exactly right. And so that requires us to, in many cases, what we call interconnect or tap into the existing network of the incumbent cable provider so that we can tap into the ability to air the same type of public education government channel. In some cases, we very well may develop some of our own content and build upon the existing PEG channels that we'll offer. For many people, the PEG channels, while it may not rival Monday Night Football in ratings, PEG channels do provide a public service in that they deliver everything from the opportunity to see what your city council or planning and zoning commission is discussing, or it may be an opportunity to watch a school board meeting, or even an opportunity to see your child play a sporting event or perform in the band. And so it gives a local community feel and is something that is important that we're fully committed to delivering on the PEG channels as part of our overall content that we deliver to the customers.
Do these PEG channels include what's called public access, or is that separate, or is that included?
The public access channels would be different than the public education government channels,
right?
And those will vary from market to market.
And are there requirements in the state franchise to fund that at any level? That public access?
No, there's nothing in the Texas franchise that specifically speaks to that. And we expect, though, that issue may come up in some other states, and we'll take those on individually with each state. But what we're committed to at this point is to matching the number of PEG channels and the type of PEG channels in any given city as part of the overall state franchise.
Okay. Now, so when was this law put in, and when did you apply for it, and what have you got under it now?
The new law went into effect in late September of last year in Texas, and we received approval for our first state-issued video franchise in October. Since we received the approval for the state-issued video franchise, we've rolled out FiOS TV now in 14 markets in North Texas, which are all suburbs of the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Right.
And there are several other states where, of course, the state-issued video franchise does not yet exist, but we already offer FiOS TV in markets. So in total, we have FiOS TV now in slightly more than 15 communities in 5 different states, including Texas, Florida, Virginia, New York, and in Massachusetts.
What's been the uptake rate?
Well, it's been significant in our earliest markets. In our inaugural market, Keller, Texas, which is a city of about 33,000 population just north of Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport that many people pass through every day, in just 4 months' time, more than 1 out of every 5 of our customers who can receive FiOS TV have already ordered service. So that represents a 21% take rate in just 4 months. We're hopeful and optimistic that that same type of response will take place in the other cities where FiOS TV is available. And what we've also seen that's very, very significant is that we'll use Keller as a good example, that the incumbent cable provider, within just a matter of days of our introduction of our FiOS TV service, introduced some promotional rates that dropped by 50% the combined TV and broadband bundle. So when there's choice made available for customers for video and for broadband, the winner is the consumer, and that's playing out loud and clear in North Texas, and that's why we're going to fight very hard to secure similar streamlined video entry in other states.
Now, we've been talking about the advantages here in broadband and speed. What about cost and essentially the cost per channel on FiOS versus incumbent cable providers?
Well, we're competing not only on content but also on price, and we offer more channels and more choices for a greater value. Our entry-level package is nearly 200 channels. It also provides 20 high-definition channels as well as access to 1,800 video-on-demand titles, and we price that at $39.95 per month, which is significantly less than your cable TV offers today, depending upon which set-top box that you would order. If it's for high definition, we offer one that's a high definition with a built-in digital video recorder, which many people are accustomed to now if they have services like TiVo. So you'd have a built-in digital video recorder with a high definition box that would be $12.95 per month. If you did not have a high definition DVR or set-top box but had your more standard traditional set-top box, that's $4.95 per month. So we're offering more channels with a wide variety of content, including some specialty channels for Spanish language homes, as well as some special movies and special sports programming packages that all in total represent not only more content but also at a lesser cost than what people can order today from their cable channel. On the broadband side, our 5 megabit service is $34.95 per month when purchased as part of a bundle, meaning you have, say, a Verizon long-distance service or calling plan. Outside of a bundle, it's $39.95 per month. So in other words, at the $34.95 rate, you're paying $5 more per month for 5 megabits than you would for our 3 megabit DSL service. If you moved up to the 15 megabits per second speed, you'd pay either $44.95 per month within a bundle or $49.95 per month outside of a bundle, which again is incredible value for moving up from a 3 megabit DSL connection, which is $29.95 per month for the most part, up to $44.95 per month for a 15 megabit connection. So it is. We believe we have a product that's delivered over an all-fiber optic network that will benefit all of our customers. We're building out our fiber optic network right now in 16 states, which is more than half of all the states where we provide local phone service. So all along the West Coast, the East Coast, in the Great Lakes, we're in the state of Indiana, and then in Florida and Texas. So this is an effort that will continue to grow. It's a multi-year effort. Every year we have passed roughly 3 million households with our fiber optic network. So we expect this year to pass another 3 million homes, which will provide us an opportunity to just continue to extend further and further into our community the opportunity to tap into a pure all-fiber optic network that is at a scale and a scope that doesn't exist by any other company at this point.
What's the relationship between the construction of the system and the franchising process? Do you wait until you've got a franchise to build out? Do you build out and offer phone service and data service and wait for the franchise to do video? How does that work?
Data and voice come first. Fortunately, we have not had to, in most communities, wait to build out the fiber optic network for the delivery of voice and data, because we're using the existing right-of-ways in which we have the approval to place our conduit. We do, however, have to receive either a local video franchise from a city or receive a state video franchise at a state level before we can actually begin offering the video network.
Okay.
We're able to build out our network so that we can deliver video, but legally we cannot offer video service until we get either the city or the state franchise.
Okay, say just a little bit about the option of having a federal franchise and how that might work, and what bills might be in the works to bring that about at this point.
Well, this issue has a substantial amount of political support because of what it means for consumers. Not only does it give consumers choice of video services, some of which consumers have been clamoring for some time, but it also has an impact on price. At the FCC level and on the federal side, we're continuing to push for federal legislation. We worked very hard to see some movement last year, and we think we'll see some movement in Congress this year, both on the House and the Senate side. There is a Senate committee, the Senate Commerce Committee, that has scheduled dozens of hearings, and in fact, the head of Verizon will be testifying at the end of January before the Senate Commerce Committee on the video issue before Senator Ted Stevens from Alaska. So there is some momentum and steam building ahead. On the House side, there continues to be work on a comprehensive legislative package, and we think that the House may want to consider looking at some of the experience of the states where the approach to video entry has been to look at the new entrants and how you can ease entry rather than looking at different approaches. And so what needs to be moved ahead here is that we expect to see some action at the Federal Communications Commission, or the FCC, and led by the new chairman, Kevin J. Martin, some things that have been teed up. This year going ahead, we believe that the FCC has some ability to define what is reasonable action by local franchising authorities in terms of the amounts of time that they can take to act on these franchise applications, and on the kinds of build-out requirements that can apply as a condition for these franchises. For example, in California, the state statutes would require a new video entrant to serve 100% of a city, even if they didn't provide local phone service to 100% of that community.
Right.
We think that that's unfair and inappropriate and over the top. Lastly, we think that the FCC can take a look at all of the other things that we're being asked to do when we apply for franchise agreements. And, in some cases, New Jersey is a good example, where New York is another good example, where certain municipalities have asked for seed money for some of the most unusual things, everything from wildflowers to putting baskets on all the light poles in town, and even funding a sculpture in front of the city hall. That is not right. And what we're merely seeking to do is to provide video choice. We've already seen in the communities where FiOS TV is offered that rates have dropped from the incumbent cable providers, the number of subscribers have gone up, and there is a growth in the number of broadband customers in a community when we introduce our FiOS data service. So to restrict and handcuff new entrants from coming into a market, we believe is inappropriate, and we think that the time is ripe for the FCC to help bring about an opportunity for more competitors in a market, and let the local market help decide what the pricing of services shall be. So there's a lot of work to go. This is a very time-intensive part of the process, and not something that most consumers necessarily realize is taking place, but it certainly has occupied literally thousands and thousands of hours of our time.
So while you're working with the FCC and Congress on the federal level, and you have a state franchise in Texas, are you also going to individual cities and franchising authorities and going through the process there with them before you're offering the FiOS service?
Yes, that's right. Right now we have very active negotiations in Florida and California, Indiana, and we expect some serious negotiations to move ahead in places like Maryland and perhaps New York, and certainly in New Jersey and Virginia. There are active discussions taking place now to bring about state video franchise agreements. But as we speak, we have active negotiations in place in over 400 local communities across the country, merely to keep the ball moving ahead so that we can offer our video service. So it's a three-pronged attack at the city level, at the state level, and at the federal level. Long term, we think a federal solution would be the most effective. If that takes too long to achieve, we'll still continue to press ahead to try to secure more state-issued video franchises, but we'll also continue to knock on individual doors and secure these local franchise agreements.
Now, maybe we can clarify for our listeners the issue of the differences between Verizon's approach and AT&T, formerly SBC's approach on this, and maybe even a little bit of the technical underpinnings of that difference. Could you sort of clarify what Verizon's position is on getting local franchises versus what AT&T's position is, and talk, if you want, about what differences in the technology facilitate that difference or cause it?
Verizon is indeed pursuing this three-pronged strategy for franchises. AT&T, formerly SBC, has said that it doesn't need to secure video franchises, although in recent weeks we've seen they've become active participants in seeking to secure state video franchise agreements in the states of Indiana as well as in Florida.
But not at the local level.
But not necessarily at the local level, that's correct. The inherent difference is the technology and the delivery mechanism. Verizon uses IPTV, or Internet Protocol Television. In other words, it's an IP connection to deliver our video-on-demand titles. We don't believe yet that IPTV has reached its full maturity, and that's why all of the rest of our FiOS TV content is delivered over our fully fiber optic network, not in an IPTV fashion.
Does it have a format name that it is delivered in?
Well, it would be purely fiber. One word. It's an all fiber optic network,
right,
not in an IPTV fashion.
Right.
SBC, in contrast.
But the video on demand that you do deliver as IPTV.
That is correct.
But the 200 channels is done on the all fiber network.
That is correct.
Okay.
And in contrast, AT&T is intending to deliver all of its content over an IPTV connection, and believes that is not subject to local or state regulatory review, and so therefore has declared that it should not be required to receive video franchise agreements.
Either federal, state, or local.
That is correct.
Okay.
And so at this stage, that's a decision that they've chosen to do. However, we realize there'd be a lot of legal issues that would possibly thwart that effort. our network is further ahead than AT&T's in the delivery of the fiber optic services. We already have revenue coming in the door in 5 states with FiOS TV, and AT&T is just in the early phases of offering service to customers in and around its home base of San Antonio, Texas.
Apart from bragging rights, do Verizon and AT&T compete face-to-face anywhere?
Well, where we compete nowadays is for the large business customer for providing high-capacity voice and data services. We do not actively compete for local telephone service.
Right.
Certainly, we do compete for wireless customers, as AT&T and Singular have merged together. So we chiefly compete for wireless customers, for long-distance customers, and also for large corporate, federal, and government contracts. But we don't compete for local service, given our legacy histories as spin-offs of the original AT&T in GTE, which is a predecessor company of Verizon that merged with Bell Atlantic to form Verizon back in the year 2000, was an independent company that was not an offspring or what was known as one of the baby bells, which is one of the very reasons why we were able to move ahead in former GT states like Florida, Texas, and California, and building out our fiber optic network prior to getting some regulatory certainty that we would not have to open up our fiber optic networks and sell piece parts of those networks at discounted rates to competitors, as we have to with our traditional copper telephone network.
Got it. Okay. But in fact, though, Verizon and Singular Wireless compete, and to the extent that you can offer, I assume that both companies are offering bundled services that give you the wireless at a lower rate if you subscribe to the fiber optic or other landline systems.
Well, we do provide bundles to our customers, and people who order a basket of services do save. The significant thing here is that we're not competing against each other for television customers, and we're not competing for traditional landline customers, but in the non-traditional world, we do indeed compete for voice-over IP customers, given the fact that we both provide voice-over IP services, ours being referred to as VoiceSwing, AT&T's as Call Vantage, and then we also compete for wireless customers, long-distance customers, as well as for large business and government contracts.
Right. Does that mean that subscribers with FiOS can either get the phone service that they get in the way that you talked about, the fiber optic connecting to the residual phone connection, or voice over IP?
We do offer. We still continue to offer our copper phone service to customers today.
Right, but that's not going to be forever, is it?
Well, that's correct. I mean, we don't intend to operate 2 networks going forward.
Right.
Fiber is our future. We're very bullish on fiber, and our intent is to migrate our customers over to a fiber optic network.
And will that mean they'll get their phone service as voice over IP then, through that fiber network?
The service ultimately would become a voice over IP type service, along with the data connectivity and the TV service that would come over the fiber optic pipe.
Okay, I want to talk about one other issue here and then talk about California, and then I'll let you go. You mentioned digital video recorders as a built-in feature of the system, or an option. What kind of concerns and planning are you doing in terms of intellectual property rights and in terms of people downloading video on demand, storing it on their video recorders or hard drives, using it over and over again, and even maybe shipping it off to their friends?
Well, we're not going to become a policing agent or a traffic cop.
Right.
And simply put, we're going to provide people with the connectivity and the pathway to receive access to content, but we're not going to be a policing agent.
Okay. Also on the subject of programming, what kind of arrangements have you made with the program providers who are providing to cable? Are you going to have all of the ones that are on cable and then some? Are you not going to carry some? Are you having any trouble getting content that cable companies have some kind of proprietary control over? What's the whole carriage and programming situation for FiOS?
The group that we have overseeing the assembly of our video content, many of them come from the cable industry and have years and years of experience of working with the content providers. We've assembled a very robust lineup of service, and what people are able to receive from our service today will look very much similar to and above and beyond what you can receive from your incumbent cable provider. There are some special arrangements that some cable providers have with certain content providers that we're not able to tap into. For example, there are certain cities that have unique relationships with professional sporting teams that we've not been able to tap into. Our intent is to continue to press ahead and seek to provide as robust a video lineup as we're able to for all of our customers. We're really quite pleased, frankly, with the volume of content that we've been able to secure. Pretty much you name the content provider, and we're offering that over our network. What we also do is to group our channels together by niche category to make it easier for the viewer to scroll through their channel lineup and their interactive program guide to go to the channels that they like.
Are you going to be offering tiers or a la carte, or how's that going to work?
There are a la carte. We're not offering a la carte individual programming as yet. That is something that we are looking at the possibility. We do offer packages, but we've not entered into any individual channel programs or tiers per se. So it is different packages that we offer depending upon how much content you want. But the significant thing that should also be addressed is that unlike the traditional cable companies, the way that we've structured the back end behind the scenes infrastructure is through the establishment of two superhead ends. We have one in Tampa, Florida, and another in central Illinois that allows for us to deliver the same exact content to each and every city where we're offering FiOS TV. So unlike the patchwork quilt environment that deals with different video head ends in different communities, that means if you might drive 15 miles from one city to another, it might be the same cable provider, but the channel lineup looks completely different and the actual numerals of the TV station are completely different.
Right.
You'll see a consistency across the board in the way that Verizon FiOS TV is delivered, and so that allows for us to, from our two superhead ends, to collect and receive the over satellite the national content. We send it out over our inter-office high-speed fiber optic network that goes to different video hub offices that we have where we mix in local programming, local advertisements. Ultimately, the PEG channels are mixed in at the local level, and then those signals are sent straight to the central office and directly to the customer's home.
Right.
So there is a significant sense of efficiency that we've created in the back-end IT delivery mechanism for the distribution of the video content.
Okay, now speaking of distribution of video content, here's a number of points that are all sort of related to the same point. Etopia Media produces videos that are uploaded to Google Video and are served out of there. In a sense, they compete with NBC and CBS and HBO. Of course, we have less of an advertising budget. Will people be able to access from Google or Yahoo or other services that video on a par with the content that they're going to get in the FiOS video service? This involves questions of quality of service and the term net neutrality. The president of AT&T, Mr. Whitaker, has said he'd be nuts if he let Yahoo, Google, and Amazon and companies like that access their customers without him charging them. What's Verizon's view on that?
Well, that's the whole issue of net neutrality certainly is one that continues to be a great area of focus, specifically to Etopia. It's a little bit early to say just how that might play out. So I don't think I'd be in a position to discuss that in any specific level of detail, just because I'm not too versed and familiar in that particular area. So I don't think in this venue I'd be able to spend a whole lot of time talking about that.
As a general proposition, people will be able to use their internet access connection to access video on additional servers.
Well, no, I hear you and I understand that. I think that there are, as it relates specifically to net neutrality,
right.
We believe that consumers should be able to go where they want to on the internet.
Right.
They should get the appropriate service that they purchase, and they shouldn't be restricted in the way in which they access sites and access content on the internet.
Right.
We've been there before. So while I couldn't go into a lot of detail with that, I'd say that, we have been working with hundreds of ISPs throughout the years in order to have them use our network to offer service to consumers.
Right.
We've argued the point time and time again that we're trying to encourage cable to allow more than one ISP to be available to the cable customer.
Right, which under Brand X they don't have to do.
That is correct. We've argued at that time that the marketplace would eventually work. And we think the marketplace has been working, and the consumers have been very well served by the forces of the marketplace, from the consumer's perspective, the need. The last piece I'd say on that, as it relates to net neutrality, is that we're aware of discussions by some about potential restrictions on customers' access to the public internet.
Right.
We would want to confirm that Verizon supports the notion of a full and open access to the internet. We think consumers should be able to go where they want to go. We think they should be able to have full disclosure of any meaningful terms that relate to their service when they buy their service. We think they should be able to attach to any device. They should be able to run any application of their choice. The bottom line is that when they purchase from us, whether it's 5 megabits per second or 15 megabits per second capacity for access to the internet, we think they should be able to use that as they see fit. And we'd also like others in the industry to support that kind of effort. And in many ways, we have had near consensus in the industry in support of the various set of principles. There's an entity known as the High Tech Broadband Coalition. They were one of the first out of the gate with their so-called connectivity principles, and they got widespread support. So last year in 2005, the FCC issued its policy statement on internet neutrality, and again with widespread support from the industry, we encouraged and promoted this at the FCC, and a number of organizations, even in late January, became aware of a new coalition called Free Press. And that has a variety of consumer interests, but essentially it's talking about the same four things: access to any website, attached to any device, run any application, and full disclosure of the terms and conditions to consumers when they purchase an internet access capability. Last, I would say that we think it's important to keep hammering on the value of these principles for a more orderly and common sense development of the marketplace.
So you're saying Free Press and Verizon are pretty much on the same page on that, on those principles?
Absolutely. The old notion of government keeps its hands off the Internet, we still think has merit.
Okay. Two big last questions, but before that I wanted to give you a chance to say anything you want to about lawsuits pending in Texas from the cable operators who are unhappy with competition from Verizon.
Well, some things never change, and every time we sought to secure a municipal video franchise agreement, we were met with stiff opposition from the incumbent cable provider.
What kind of arguments did, if you can call them that, did they raise?
Well, they felt that if telecommunications companies were allowed to provide video service in their markets, that their existing video franchise agreement should be completely revamped, or that special customer service metrics were placed upon the new video entrant. They were also expressed concern about the amount of revenues that cities would receive.
Right.
Well, fortunately, the House and Senate members in Texas had good wits about them, and when they took up a vote on the state-issued video franchise, it passed with an enormous number, and so we were able to move beyond that. But as recently as today, in late January, the Texas Cable and Telecommunications Association has filed yet another lawsuit, this time in state court. Last year it was in federal court, which is seeking to, in effect, debunk or call void the Texas Senate Bill 5 that allowed for the streamlining of video services in the state.
So what's the timetable for that, and do you think that's going to have any impact on your rollout in Texas?
We don't believe this case has merit. We will, in mid-February, reply with a legal brief to dismiss the federal action. I'm certain that we'll do something similar for the state filing. But simply put, the effort to debunk the success that Texas Senate Bill 5 has already produced for a growing number of Texans reflects the pure desperation from the cable industry to maintain its stranglehold on consumers. This state stunt adds nothing to the merits of the previous lawsuits submitted at a federal level. It's equally meritless, and it's merely an attempt to take two bites of the apple. The latest suit by the cable industry in Texas adds nothing to the claims that they originally filed in federal court in September 2005. All they've done, in effect, is try to involve another court in the same dispute, and we think that Texas state leaders, and if this gains merit in any other, or comes to fruition in any other states, that leaders in other states will realize that this is merely yet another delay tactic from the cable industry, who has, for a number of years, had a fair opportunity to hunker down and grow and secure its subscriber base. They see their future, and that is of the traditional local telephone companies not looking or acting so traditional anymore.
Okay.
And entering their sandbox.
All right. Now you've said you're building this out at about 3 million premises passed a year.
Right.
And you expect that'll continue for about how much longer until you cover your whole area?
Well, we've not yet defined how long the overall program will move forward. It's a very capital-intensive one.
That's what I wanted to ask. How capital-intensive? Can you give us any figures about what it's costing on an annual basis and how much you expect it will cost overall? And the corollary to that is, are you betting the company on this by spending that much money?
Well, first, we're not betting the company on this.
Okay.
We're taking a very reasonable and pragmatic approach in investing wisely in building out a network that will be future-proof. We won't have to go back and dig a second time like other companies who decide that, oops, maybe they should have built out fiber all the way to their customer's home.
Right.
We're digging once. We're extending fiber to the customer's home on the first pass, and we think that this is the right strategy. The articulation of the strategy takes place every day as we build out our network and we install service to our customers. It is a, without providing a specific figure, it's a multi-billion-dollar investment for us annually. It is where we have most of our attention and focus from a capital investment perspective for our domestic telecom side of our business. We will be investing at a comparable level for the next several years as we build out our network. In our first year of construction, we passed 1 million homes. Then we passed 2 million homes the second year. This year we'll pass 3 million. We intend to pass 3 million more homes next year. And we'll just continue to revisit our overall network construction plans and make sure that we're building out at a pace that makes sense, that we don't get out too far ahead of ourselves, and that as we build out the network, that we're also providing outstanding service to our customers, because when the service is introduced, the reaction has been like kids in a candy shop. What we don't want to do is to overextend ourselves so that we're unable to provision the service even though we have the network laid. We want to be able to provision the service, build it out, install the service, and maintain it, and provide excellent service for our customers, because this is our future in terms of our domestic telecom business. Overall at Verizon, there's simply put 3 areas of growth, and that's wireless, broadband, and large business. Broadband embraces all 3 of those, and so the use of fiber to deliver a completely different way for our customers to get voice, data, and video services is arguably the most exciting project that even our 35-year veteran employees have experienced in their career.
Is this pretty much now going to be the platform for the foreseeable future? There is nothing beyond, at this point, beyond fiber optic as a way of delivering massive amounts of broadband.
Well, certainly at Verizon, the full fiber optic network will be our approach going forward. We're not intending to build out brand new copper phone networks. So, for example, if there is a brand new development, in other words, what we call in the industry a greenfield,
right,
a new development, we'll build that network out with 100% fiber optic.
And in fact, you were talking about 5, 15, 30 megabits per second. Are there developments that have already taken place or that are foreseeable that would allow the use of essentially this conduit, but with head ends or amplifiers or compression techniques that would make even faster broadband possible through the same physical plant?
Well, there are certain compression capabilities that allow us, as I mentioned, to and we've proven in a real life environment to deliver 100 megabits per second. We're going to focus right now on delivering the 5, the 15, and the 30. We'll see over time the market demand for a higher speed of service.
But if there is the market demand and you do it, you're not going to have to build anything out more in terms of the plant. That's going to be in place already, and it'll be capable
That's
of
exactly
doing
right. We're building out our network. We're digging once. We're future-proofing our network. The technology will be able to we'll be able to tap our existing fiber optic infrastructure to ratchet up speeds all the way to 100 megabits per second without having to go back out into communities and overlay additional conduit. We have the network infrastructure and the fiber optic equipment that is in the ground, being placed in the ground today, will sustain, at least from our testing models, all the way up to 100 megabits per second. So we're very well poised to be able to have a rather scalable, as we like to say in the industry, opportunity to give consumers even faster speeds if the applications require even higher bandwidth than a 30 megabit connection.
Okay. Finally, could you comment on what the overall impact of FiOS is going to be in terms of U.S. competitiveness and its place as currently 16th in broadband penetration in the world, and what you see FiOS doing to upgrade the position of the whole United States as a global competitor based on access to advanced broadband technologies?
Well, one thing we need to keep in mind is that the population centers of the United States aren't going to change overnight just merely as a result of where broadband is available. There's a reason why countries like South Korea and other Asian countries have such a high penetration of broadband, and it's because of where the residents live in a very densely populated area that exceeds even that of New York City and Los Angeles. In Chicago. However, Verizon is building out its network not only in small communities but in large cities. We serve roughly 1/3 of the United States in terms of households from a local phone perspective. AT&T likewise serves about 1/3. So as the fiber optic network of Verizon continues to grow and expand, and as AT&T ratchets up its deployment of its hybrid fiber and copper network, we will see a significant increase in the number of broadband customers, because we're not only securing our new FiOS customers from our existing DSL subscriber base or the existing cable modem customers in a particular market, but we're seeing first-time computer owners purchasing FiOS service. I've personally spoken to customers who are even in their mid-80s, have never touched a computer until they ordered FiOS. And so for them, it was a very eye-opening experience to not only tap on a keyboard, but to receive information across the Internet in light speed time.
People who've never had to wait for the dial-up to dial up.
The people whose eyes get to be the size of stars are those who have experienced that very obnoxious sound that we all enjoyed in the mid-1990s on dial-up connections, and we saw on the movie You've Got Mail.
Right.
The people who went through 2-baud and 12 and 24K and rejoiced at 56K and threw a party at 128K, who are now taking advantage of a 5 and 15 megabit connection, it's Liberation Day for them, and so they can truly appreciate the difference of the worldwide wait to the unleashing of power that they get with these faster connections. And so the people who appreciate the faster speeds have indeed been the people who have gradually migrated year by year up faster through the bandwidth chain, and I honestly think that people who are their first experience on the Internet is a fiber optic connection don't know necessarily what a grand thing they have in front of them. They have to talk to somebody who is,
so to speak, have walked 10 miles through the snow to school.
Who've gone uphill both ways to school and back.
Right.
And so that's what's most exciting about this moment in time. We're trying to harness all the energy and the excitement that people have right now and the growing applications. We think the future will be very bright, and we're incredibly encouraged at the initial reaction to both our data as well as our TV service, and we know that the best is yet to come.
Okay, well, I hope we'll be able to talk about that as it comes, and I want to thank you very much for speaking with us today at this length and in this much detail about the FiOS service.
Thanks for your time, Mark. We appreciate it.
Okay, bye.
Bye.